Welcome to a very special edition of Puck Social. As always, Puck Social's charity of choice is Canadian Tire Jumpstart, which is a cause that is very near and dear to Mike and I's hearts. Jumpstart helps economically disadvantaged children get access to sports through various programs like Play to Lead, and it just provides opportunities that they would not otherwise have. And providing children opportunities to participate in sport is critical to the development of the child. The links are in the bio if you want to donate, and if you can find it in your heart this holiday season, Mike and I would really appreciate it. For this special episode of Puck Social, we are joined by Lyss from Winnipeg Sports Talk. She does absolutely fantastic work, not only in the data space, but also online, and her ability to make hockey easily understandable and accessible in her child chit chats on TikTok. We are so excited. I can't wait to have an all-girls edition of Puck Social. Lyss, how are you?
I am wonderful. I am psyched. I am so excited to cover all the topics that we're going to talk about today. My rookie lap on Puck Social, having a good time already, and we have a lot of fun stuff in store.
We really do. We also are both wearing toques today because we apparently have telepathic, communication at this point already.
Or we both just have bad hair. It could be that, too.
That is absolutely what it is. We already know. It's fine. Lyss exposed us. It's fine.
It's fine. Let's go with the telepathic thing.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so because there is no parents in the room to keep the girlies in check, let's just have some fun, shall we?
I'm on board.
All right. Okay, so there was so much that happened, and not even just in the last week, but it feels like this summer, I don't know about you, give me your thoughts on this. Does it not feel like everyone got married or everyone got engaged or everyone had a child? It felt like every time I opened my Twitter in the summer, which admittedly was not as much because I would like to take a break from hockey, I felt like there was this avalanche of news that just hit my timeline, and I'm like, okay, everybody relax.
Well, it's so funny because in the NHL, the off season is timed so well with summer, which is peak wedding season in North America regardless. And it's funny you say that because I feel like I remember last summer being oh my gosh, everybody is getting engaged. And what does that mean? It means the following summer they're all getting married. We have none of these, 6-year engagements or anything like that in the NHL. These guys know what they want. They, they're down to business and they have some time off in the month of July, and everybody and their mother gets married in July.
I know, and this summer we had the hockey royal wedding between Connor McDavid and Lauren Kyle, now known as the McDavids. This was the most wild wedding situation. I spent a lot of time in Muskoka in the summer, and the preparations that were underway for this wedding were absolutely wild. So if you don't know what Muskoka is the Hamptons of Canada, basically. And it's everyone and their mother has a cottage there. Galen Weston has a cottage there. The Rogers family has a cottage there. The Johnson and Johnson people have cottages there. The Who's Who, Kevin O'Leary's up there. It's a who's who kind of situation. So, okay, we need to unpack this first part though. They had to take a boat to their ceremony, which was on Old Woman Island on Lake Muskoka. And in the Australian Vogue article about their wedding, they had to build the venue. Imagine transporting all of those materials for one day.
Well, I think my thing is, it's just why? That area and in Canada, it's there are so many beautiful, large, gorgeous wedding venues. I wonder what specifically about the build they needed in order to make that a massive priority.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's okay, cool, you got married on an island, but first of all, I have to know how did we settle on that particular island, and why are we picking an island that basically had nothing on it? I've taken the boat and driven by that island numerous times, and up until this summer, there was nothing there.
No, literally, it's so funny. So out where I live, Winnipeg is, Winnipeg, but the who's who of Winnipeg, where everyone has their cabins, is on Lake of the Woods, which is in Ontario. It's a 3-ish hour drive from Winnipeg, and it's so funny. All my friends who have cabins out there that are on islands that are only accessible by boat, it's just their cabins are beautiful. They have incredible boats. They have nice yachts and everything. But the trek is not glamorous, right? You're like, okay, how many people do we need to get on this boat? How many groceries do we need to get on this? If we're doing renovations, what needs to go on this? And the boat is like loaded up, like almost past the weight capacity on it because you're like trying to get everything from where you parked your car. And like, it's just, I can't imagine how that's something anyone would want on their wedding day. But you know what? I saw the photos. It looked gorgeous. So I guess worth it. I sure hope so.
Well, like, okay, so we need to unpack, like, some of this stuff. So, first of all, it was a 4-day event, which is wild. Like, I get it in the NHL, like, obviously none of these wags work. Like, absolutely none of them work. And if they do, it's very spotty, we'll just say. And, like, 4 different events, like 4 different outfits for everyone. Cause like on this wedding invitation, it was like old money attire, very old fashioned, basically royal wedding type vibes. And like, you're thinking about this and it's like, okay, when you think old money, you're thinking what? Like Ralph Lauren, Loro Piana, like all these designer, Burberry, all these brands, 4 outfits from those brands. Like, I'm sorry, how much money are we spending right now as wedding guests?
Yeah, no kidding. The tax bracket, though, I guess of their inner circle, I'm sure could manage 4 different Hermes belts. But it's one of those things. It's just like for what? I'm very curious because I actually don't think I even knew that it was 4 days long. I know Lauren wore like a bajillion dresses, and we'll get into that. But I didn't realize it was a 4-day wedding. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there was like rehearsals and then like a bridal situation and then a pre-party and then the wedding and a post-party. Like it was wild. But I will say one of like the really cool things is so Jack Botts flew in from Australia and played Lauren down the aisle, which I thought was lovely. Like I'm a big live music girl, and at a wedding, like whether it's a piano, a violin, like I don't know about you, but I'd love a violin arrangement on my wedding day. But like just to have a live play down the aisle as opposed to
Well, fun fact, Lauren, I play the violin, so if you want me to come play at your wedding.
Okay, so Lyss is now playing me down the aisle. That's what we have determined in this, but this is the most important part of today's show, is that now we figured out that Lyss is going to be the violinist at my wedding. Okay, but the after party was DJ'd by Loud Luxury. Like, some of those pictures are wild.
It's so funny because, okay, I think they got married in what, like July, I think it was? I don't really remember, but I threw
July
an EDM
28th.
festival in Lake of the Woods, like, okay, yeah, so that was the same day as the EDM festival that I threw in Lake of the Woods in Kenora, like the place that I was talking about, because it was like, again, tax bracket. People can afford to spend, $150 on a ticket to this festival, whatever. And it's like Loud Luxury would have been like our dream guest. Like we had like Felix Cartel was there, and like we had some different like DJs and stuff like that from different places. But it's like Loud Luxury, like you want to talk about a big ticket artist. Never mind at your wedding. Like these are like when you hear about these like young nepo babies in the U.S. who have like Beyonce come sing at their birthday parties and stuff like that. But it's like, you know what? They earn this for themselves. And if you want Loud Luxury at your wedding, you can afford to get Loud Luxury at your wedding, you go, girl. Go piss.
I know, like that was like that. I think it was in India. There was like a prince or something got married, and like Justin Bieber and Nick Jonas and like 3 other people performed at their wedding, and I'm like, bro, like that is so excessive. But I will say, having a live DJ at your wedding absolutely slaps. 10 out of 10
That's
on
crazy.
that one. Like you ever been at a wedding where it's like the DJ is fine, but it's like I wish like there was actual sick music being played kind of thing. These guys had like a whole
totally.
freaking DJ situation at their wedding. Like that's sick.
Well, it's the best part because, like, when it comes to, if you just have Spotify on aux or whatever at your wedding, it's like certain songs have really good parts for, like, slow dancing, or certain parts have really good, or songs have good parts for, like, they're really hype, but then, like, the verses are boring or whatever. When you have someone who can, like, mix all that, you can just get the good parts of every single song, and, like, my Gen Z attention span loves that, because you don't need to hear every part of every single song. Like, let's keep it going here, and I feel like a good DJ can really make or break any evening, and on an evening that you want to make and not break, as in your wedding, totally understand wanting to have someone good there. And I mean, hey, Loud Luxury, pretty much as good as it gets in that category.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we need to talk about the dresses, because the dress situation is wild. So Lyss and I have a group chat with like a few other people, and when this story was like being bandied about in our group chat, we were like, okay, first of all, every girl's dream to have a custom made wedding dress as opposed to like getting something off the rack. Four? Like, girl, you are living every princess's dream. I'm pretty sure Kate Middleton did not have four wedding dresses. Like, absolutely incredible. But the one that she had to like search the globe for is wild. That is such a wild story.
Oh my gosh, totally. And but it's one of those things where it's like you will have these photos for the rest of your life. This is the day that you want to feel the most beautiful. Good for you. Good for you. I am not a fashion girl. I'm sure, as you can tell by the outfit I've got going on here. So I don't know the depths of just how cool and special these specific dresses were. But, when you start getting into designers whose names even I know, it's like, okay, this is legit. And this is clearly something that matters to her. Lauren obviously has an eye for, the beautiful, the marvelous. She is an interior designer, so she clearly has an eye for design, and that's something that she holds near and dear to her heart. So I'm so happy that she kind of got to see her visions come to life in this.
I know, right? Like you're seeing like the pictures of the wedding, and like I was there that weekend, and like the entirety of the lake was just absolutely stunning. And so this one dress, basically she saw it, and it was Kate Moss wore it as a runway look in 1997, which, to be clear, was the year Lauren Kyle was born. Like, that's what we're talking about here. That's the level of like depth and research that went into this. She couldn't find it, scoured the globe, was like looking everywhere. It was like a huge thing, had people on the lookout. 2 weeks before the wedding, it was like the second week of July, somebody emails her and it's like, we found the dress. So originally she was just going to have a carbon copy made of it. But then somebody was like, we found the dress. She flew to New York, got the dress, got it like hemmed perfectly and everything. But like just the stroke of luck for that one piece. Like she had a Ralph Lauren, like a Lauren dress for the rehearsal. Then there was like a Stella McCartney one. Then this Kate Moss one was for like the first part of the after party. It was absolutely stunning. Like, but you think about it, and I saw people on Twitter being like, oh my God, did she have to get that dress? And it's like, girl, this is literally the royal wedding. Like, if she wants the dress, yes, she needs the dress. Like,
well, and clearly this wedding to them had some level of marketing importance to them. Obviously, we can get into the Vogue Australia thing, but this is something that they wanted to be a spectacle. They wanted it to be perceived in the way that it was perceived. So, like, why not, right?
yeah, like, okay, so the Vogue Australia thing, do we have thoughts on it? Because, like, the rule at their at their wedding was no phones. Like, absolutely
Right.
no phones. You had to, like, put your phone away. And honestly, I vibe with that. I do not want people's phones. Like, at my wedding, there's gonna be a no phone rule too. Not to that extent, because I'm not selling anything. It's just when I get my wedding pictures back, I don't want to see other people being like ching 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 in the background. Like, just let the photographer.
Yeah.
I paid them thousands of dollars. Just let them do their job. But what are your thoughts on them selling their wedding situation to Vogue?
Well, first and foremost, as always, get your bag. Like, whatever, if you want to get your bag, get your bag. Good for you. But I think the thing that to me it comes down to is just like, I hope this was something that was important to them and that they wanted to do, and not that they had some PR person come and sell this to them and they're like, oh, okay, I guess so, sort of thing. Like, I hope this is something that they were like, we want it captured in this way, we think it'd be good for XYZ reasons. I really hope that that's what it was. But I mean, I think the thing that I just don't get, because again, not a huge like fashion girlies who don't really know the ins and outs of all this. Why Vogue Australia? What? Huh?
Yeah. Like,
I don't really
there's
know.
so many other Vogues.
I'm sure there's a Vogue Canada. Why? Like, again, I just don't know what constitutes why it covers. And, like, how does that, like, no longer become Vogue Australia if you're covering something that happens in, like, Muskoka? Like, I don't really know. I don't understand that part of it enough. But, again, I just hope it was something that was important to them and that was part of their vision for their big day. So, or big days, plural. But
Their, like, wedding extravaganza is what we'll call it. Just, like, the royal wedding extravaganza. Speaking of royal weddings, the women's hockey royal wedding also went down this summer. Marie-Philippe Poulin and Laura Stacey had a beautiful wedding, and Devin Hero of CBC just came out with a beautiful piece on the couple. They talked about their wedding, their dog, living together, being professional athletes, and being able to potentially have children one day, like all of that. I absolutely love the story. Highly recommend everyone read it. Okay, the best part of that wedding though was the "It's All Coming Back to Me Now" video, right?
Oh my god, so good. So good.
Like, honestly, everyone has the love story situation, but like, I think they kind of knocked it right out of the park with that one. Like, that's a one-timer, bar down, in overtime, especially because Celine Dion is French.
Right,
Like,
that's what
is
I was
that
gonna
not
say.
sick?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That'll be me if I get married one day, screaming like Fred Penner. No, just kidding. But like, yeah, you get your local ties, and like every Quebecois person loves Celine Dion. Every Canadian loves Celine Dion. Everybody loves Celine Dion. So it's like, but I feel like there's an added level of like, yeah, but like you don't love her like I do when you're a Quebecois person. So it's like I love it. It's awesome. Clearly, it's personal to them, and that whole wedding just looked like it was an absolute blast, which is what your wedding should be. We're getting into a lot of this what your wedding should be sort of thing, but like the moral of the story is always it's your day, so do what you want to do. And they both clearly wanted to look beautiful and did that and wanted to have a lot of fun. And from everything that we can tell, that certainly also was a box that was checked.
Oh, for sure. Like, every single piece of photograph, video, everything I heard was that wedding was like an absolute blast, which I love. But like, imagine being able to marry your line mate. Like, that's so cool. It's like, yeah, this is my line mate, also my wife. Like, love that for you. That's incredible.
My favorite thing about the story that was released is when they were talking about how they like sort of fell in love and everything. And it's this whole story about how the way they said it was so funny. They're like, oh, like one of our teammates recommended we go skinny dipping, and then like we sort of like and like they kind of had like a whole moment there, like under the stars sort of thing. And I was like, that is such a women's hockey thing to do. Like we've all been there. Come on.
That's literally a book talk thing. Like,
oh my god, right.
Deep book talk code right there. That would be all over book talk, like a Tessa Bailey, Sarah Adams type of book. Oh my god. Like, that's basically just show up at their house, ask to interview them, and write their story. Thank you for coming. Goodbye. That's everything that needs to happen. We need everything in detail. But also, has anyone checked on Marcus?
They're gay. Yeah, that's the one thing that I love. Like, again, it's the sort of thing where it's like the Marcus bit was so funny on the internet when it circulated, and I hate always being that person. You know the joke where it's like, oh, that one friend who's too woke? That's like low-key me sometimes. But it's like, it just goes to show like how unnormalized this is in professional sports circuits when literally like there are a lot of female athletes that are gay. Like, let's be so for real right now. And it's like Laura Stacey and Marie Poulin have been pretty clear about that for a long time. They've been engaged for a while, whatever. And so it was just so nice for them to get to live that moment out loud together when it's been something that, for valid reason, they've been, you know, it's been really big in their lives for a long time, you know, playing on the same team and, you know, just the general perception around female athletes in general, the general perception of, you know, people who are part of the LGBTQ plus community and stuff like that, and the intersection of all that. I can't even imagine, you know, the heaviness of that sometimes. So I'm so happy. It just looked like it was so beautiful and full of love, which is exactly what they deserve.
Yeah, like I loved seeing it. Like, I love the fact that they can be like unapologetically themselves, and that they're both such great role models for young women out there. And quite frankly, like, the world would be a lot better place if young men handled themselves with the level of class that those two do. And I just love it. They talked about wanting to have children, and the first thing I thought about was the little Chulettes, Julie Chu and Carolyn Ouellette. Like, imagine a Poulin Stacy kid, the level of talent those kids are gonna have. Like, first of all, they're gonna be beloved in the community, just like the little Chulettes are. But like, I just love the fact that it's this whole conversation that for a long time, women can't be professional athletes because like they can't have kids. Well, I love that they're just kind of continuing to bold over that stereotype completely. Emirates Mashmeyer and Geneviève Lacasse had a kid. Like, if Marie-Philippe Poulin and Laura Stacey have one, I don't know. Like, I just think it's kind of breaking down that barrier too. And I love that because I feel like in professional sports, like, I know many times I was told if I wanted to work in professional sports, never mind play, if I wanted to work in the NHL, I wasn't allowed to have kids. And I was like, Okay. Like, so I just love that they're breaking that down. Like, what are your thoughts on just the fact that that's been a thing and like now maybe are we seeing like a changing of the guard?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, like it's one of those things that at the root of it, I understand the concept. 9 months plus, or depending on what's going on with the pregnancy, whatever, of having to miss likely some time, whatever. But I think it's one of those things that is just so complicated. And at the end of the day, like there's so much in women's sports that is organizers and fans and everything just comparing it to men's sports. Like there are differences. It's its own parallel, it's its own league, and there are so many things that are different about it, and one of them is simply that. And I think if anyone has big looming scary finger shaking thoughts on it, after Natalie Spooner gave birth and led the league in scoring immediately after giving birth, like I that killed the narrative immediately. Like, come, let's be so for real right now. Let's be so for real. Like, working mothers have been girl bosses since the dawn of time, and now it's just becoming a little bit more normalized, and it's happening a little bit more in the public eye. Deal with it.
I literally could not have said it better myself. We let all of that. Yes, on point. Thank you, on period. We will now
Next!
be continuing. Next topic. Love that. Okay, David Pasternak got married in Croatia, which, like, Croatia's freaking beautiful. Absolutely loved that. David Krejci and Tori Krug were they were part of his groomsmen wedding party situation. But the thing I really want to break down here. So, women traditionally, and his wife did, wear white on their wedding day. David Pasternak also wore white. What is happening there? Lyss, can we get some thoughts on this, please?
I love it. I thought he looked great. It was a nice little off-white suit. And listen, like, I'm sorry if you haven't seen his wife's dress. Well, dresses, because of all of the weddings that, we have talked about that we're going to talk about, her second dress, her reception dress, one of my favorites. I think it's so gorgeous. And her wedding dress was gorgeous, too. Like, sorry, Pasta, you can do whatever you want, and you are not taking away the attention from that woman. She looked so good. But yeah, it was a bit of a different vibe. I kind of liked it, the double breast there. Like, I liked it. I was into it. I like it when grooms are a little bit more creative in what they're wearing to their weddings and stuff like that. I'm kind of over the, black bow tie, black tux, whatever. Let's spice it up a little bit. If you have to wear a suit, wear a suit. If you have to wear something that's a little bit spicier, do it. It's your day. Go piss, girl.
I kind of love, like, the white. I think if it was the exact same color as the dress, then I would have been like, no, I'm out. But the fact that it was the off-white, I thought actually, like, really complimented it. And let's be so for real right now. David Pasternak has some of the best style in the entire NHL. So the fact that he knocked this out of the park is about the least surprising thing I know at this point. And so, like, I kind of loved the vibe. It looked like everyone was having, like, a complete blast at that wedding, which, it's Croatia. It's impossible to not have fun in that country. Like, it is just absolutely wild. But I also loved that, like, it seemed as if they had a lot of, like, water activities part of it. There was clearly partying happening. Like, it looked like they shut down an entire strip in the city they were in. But when you think about it, like, David Pasternak marches to the beat of his own drum consistently. And so the fact that this guy was like, you know what, we're getting married in Croatia and I'm wearing an off-white suit, kind of iconic, no?
Oh, absolutely. And, like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you play in North America, you live in North America now, and, everyone else kind of seems to get married in maybe Italy or, locally in Muskoka, wherever sort of thing. And he's like, you know what, no, I'm going to go to Croatia, where it's beautiful, it's closer to home for him than it is to North America and stuff like that. And, as he said it best at his Instagram comments once, if you wanted him to have a super chill, down-to-earth wedding, not today, Justin.
Yep. Okay, so the last wedding is the Cale Makar wedding. And I think the reason I think this wedding was, like, so different and honestly really nice is that it wasn't as public as the other weddings we've talked about. So, like, first of all, the fact that there's this video that surfaced of Cale Makar smashing a cowbell is extraordinarily funny. Like, he's just hitting that thing with a drumstick as hard as possible. It's so funny. So go look it up if you haven't seen it. Just unhinged behavior. But it was, like, a country theme with, like, a live band. But I think the thing I liked about it the most is that we don't really know a lot about it. And, like, is there something to be said for maybe keeping your relationship private? Because I feel like a lot of, especially a guy like Cale Makar, who's won a Norris and is one of the best players in the National Hockey League, and keeping his wedding private, basically the polar opposite of the McDavid wedding. Like, is there something to be said for your life, generally speaking, is super public and maybe keep this part private? Like, what do you think about
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I think, when it comes down to it, we can rave about the McDavid wedding, we can rave about this one. Like, I think, to me, it comes down to, well, first and foremost, that it's really nice that these players still have the flexibility to have that sort of thing. Yes, a couple of videos of that wedding probably leaked that maybe they didn't necessarily want to. I don't know what the reason was for us getting some of these clips of him singing and stuff like that, whatever, but maybe if that's what you wanted, I'm glad that people can have the coverage they want, or they can have, the privacy that they want. But at the end of the day, we can talk about NHL players and they make a lot of money right now. Their careers aren't very long. Their lifestyle is expensive and all these sorts of things. I really like it when their spouses get a little bit more involved in, like, the influencer space in particular. I feel like right now we're seeing a lot of the wags, like, making their own TikTok accounts and trying to generate some supplementary income through that. A lot of them do have jobs. I know Cale Makar's wife now is a teacher, and I think she subs when she's in Colorado, which is really awesome. People, finding meaning and ways to support your family as well, I think is really, really awesome. If that means, if you guys have kids, staying home and taking care of them, if it means, getting some brand deals to make a little bit of income on the side and stuff like that, like, at the end of the day, you probably aren't going to be able to live off of NHL lifetime income forever. So it's really nice to see, the spouses, when they have some flexibility, being able to kind of lean into their own strengths and lean into what they're interested in, and, use that if it's for generating content, like, like Lauren did for her wedding. If it's a little bit different, like it was for Tracy and her wedding, I think it's really awesome that they have the ability to kind of do what they want in those areas.
Yeah, I like it because it's obviously super difficult to have a traditional job when you are married slash dating a professional athlete. One, you could be traded at literally any given time unless they have a no trade, no move clause. They could be sent down. Like, it's all this crazy stuff. So, like, I'm right there with you. Most of them don't have careers in the sense of, like, we think about a career. But like you said, leveraging the fact that, like, first of all, 99% of them are so attractive that anyone would want them to, like, represent their brand anyways. But, like, I have no issue with them saying, okay, like, I would still like to do something. And for me, as long as they're not just pushing, like, random things that show up on their doorstep, like, that's where I think I'm like, okay, not really on side. But if it's something they already use, or it's a product or a service they already like, then I'm all for it. Go get your bag. But, like, where I think the influencer situation gets, like, a little bit dicey, and I actually think wags are pretty good with this, at least in hockey. It's not as much, like, it's everywhere on TikTok in the sense of, like, other influencers, they'll just take anything that comes to them and they'll endorse it, even if it's, like, not good, or even if they would never use it. And so I think finding your little niche, you don't have to have 35 brand deals. You could have, like, 5 or 6 really good ones. And if you work with that brand long enough, you can become associated with it. And then you kind of develop, like, an organic following. I think that's a really cool opportunity for them. And it's exactly what social media could be used in a positive light for, instead of whatever trash heap we have to deal with on Twitter right now.
Oh gosh, yeah, no, for sure. And I think that goes for any influencer, right? Is that you kind of have to manage that space, because generally speaking, you're gonna devalue your own brand deals if you accept every single one, and your endorsement loses its power, which is really important. And a lot of them, I think, figure it out as they go, and that it is what it is. But they exist in the entertainment space, or adjacent to the entertainment space already. So finding a way to kind of capitalize on that, I think, is really, really awesome if that aligns with their personalities and what they're interested in doing.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, tell me about one of my favorite players to watch this season, Kyle Connor. What was he up to, and what life change does he have coming?
Holy smokes. He got married this summer. Same as all these other guys, another summer wedding. Beautiful. Their photos and their videos that they posted on socials were just stunning. Like, I can't really tell what the vibe was of the wedding exactly, because they had, like, a first look in what looks like some, like, downtown high rise, but then they got married by some, like, water, and there's water in the backgrounds, and then they have, like, some nice pictures in, like, I think what's their house in Michigan and stuff like that. So like, I don't really know what the vibe of the wedding was, but all of the photos were stunning. And then only, you know, a couple months later, they announced their pregnancy and they're having a baby in the new year. So, like, very, very exciting time. Kyle's been with his girlfriend for a long time, and she's a staple in the community when it comes to the charities that the Winnipeg Jets and their significant others work on. Like, I swear, every photo that they post of, you know, the different charity hampers, the Project 11, stuff they're doing with the kids, like, she is there and she is running that stuff. So, like, it's really nice to see. I love it when the partners get really involved in the community and stuff like that. Winnipeg is so small and tight-knit, so, like, I love it. Super happy for them and so excited that they're gonna have a baby coming soon. I think it's been not a little while. We had 2 Winnipeg Jets babies born this spring in the playoff time. Neil Pionk had a baby and Mason Appleton had a baby, so we're gonna have another one added into the mix pretty soon.
Love that for him. I mean, I love seeing that. Like, I remember when I worked in New Jersey, one of the girls that I lived with was kind of in charge of, like, all the charity initiatives, and there were a couple of wives. Every single thing, they're like, let's get involved, let's do it. And it's all, every single time without fail. Brian Boyle's wife, Kyle Palmieri's wife, Ashley. So Lauren Boyle, Ashley Palmieri, and then Jordan Coleman, because Blake Coleman has Pickles Pals. And I believe he's carried that to Calgary. But I absolutely love seeing, like, we just talked about, like, women getting their bag and doing the influencer thing. With all that other time, like, obviously there was children involved and whatever the case, I absolutely love seeing them get involved. I'm exactly like you, like, seeing them participate in the little children's hospital visits, or I don't know, maybe they're doing like a soup kitchen thing, or they're constantly doing different foundation work, they're trying to start their own thing. Like, I absolutely love that because it tells me, like, hockey wags get this very interesting reputation of, like, you have to be blonde, which, like, 99% of the time you do, but that they're like airheads and dumb, and I'm like, that's just straight up.
We spoke about 4 NHL weddings today. 2 of them married brunettes, so checkmate.
Slay, love that. I just, like, I don't love this whole, like, airhead thing. Like, Jacob Trouba's wife is a whole doctor, like, smarter than any single NHL player. I mean, like, that's not really a high bar, but, like, she's a doctor. Like, and shout out to Jacob Trouba for literally moving his career for his wife. Like, you never see that in professional sports, ever.
Dylan Sandberg, one of the defensemen on the Winnipeg Jets, his wife is a practicing dentist here in Winnipeg. She graduated from dentistry in the States, I don't know, sometime, I noticed it on Instagram, like maybe last year it was or something like that, and I don't know what requirements it takes to kind of get that transferred into Canada, but she's a working dentist here, which is, you know, go for it, girl. But I think what's important to me for when it comes to them and the value is finding meaning, right? That's the takeaway from all this. If you are a very career-driven person and you have a certain thing that you want to do, being enabled to find those sorts of things, I think, is super important wherever your partner is. But there are other ways to find meaning, and there are even more opportunities for some of these women because they don't have the extra added crutch or burden of having to necessarily provide for their families in that moment in time, because their partner is able to sustain both of their lifestyles for the most part. With NHL salaries, even the lowest salaries in the NHL, you can, you know, live a pretty decent and solid life. So I give my flowers to NHL clubs that provide lots and lots of opportunities for volunteerism and stuff like that in the community to bring meaning to people's lives. You'll find that some of the wives and girlfriends are a little bit less involved, but as long as they're finding finding meaning in other areas of their life, I think it's super important that, you know, they can do that and they don't have to just sit kind of on the sidelines while their partner pursues their dream. They have other things that they can do as well that, you know, are meaningful to them.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed that. Like, I love all of that. Speaking of partners that are both doing ridiculous, crazy career things, Trevor Zegras is dating Dixie D'Amelio. I could not pick Dixie D'Amelio out of a Police lineup, and I'm just, like, not a big, like, social, like, media girl in the sense that, like, I don't scroll through my TikTok trends kind of thing. I follow the people that I follow. I really only watch their TikToks. Like, it kind of is what it is. But, like, what has happened to Trevor Zegras? Because, number one, obviously there was a contract situation, not great. But is it me, or does he look like he is not having fun playing hockey right now? Like, he scored a goal the other day. It was a nice goal, and it looked like somebody kicked his dog.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on there, because it's like, you think based on what his personality, what we saw when he was playing, you know, with the U.S. program, and when he was playing in the World Juniors and in college and stuff like that, like, he had that charisma to him, that oomph, that swagger that was just so endearing to a lot of people that got him, correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, on the cover of NHL, like that Sarah Nurse one. Like, wasn't he literally
Yeah.
on the cover of an EA Sport? Like, crazy. But I think the thing with him is that, like, I listen, I'm not trying to be a hater here or anything like that, but I wonder how good he ever was. Because, like, I think there was a little bit of the inflated sense of, like, I don't find Trevor Zegras to be a very fast player. I think he has a lot of really good skill and stuff like that, but I feel like he's obviously had some really good looks in the NHL and stuff like that, but right now in Anaheim with a team that doesn't have the most star-studded lineup playing on his like on the ice with him at all times, like I just don't know if there's enough there to drive on his own, and if he would maybe be better in a situation where, he's kind of able to be uplifted by other people who can uplift on their own and stuff like that. Like, I think he's one of those players that I don't know if he can lead the charge of bringing a team out of a rebuild in the same way that some other guys can. I don't know. I'm really not sure with him.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like he clearly has an immense amount of skill. Like his puck skill is outrageous. Like he can do things that are
Oh my
incredible and
gosh,
they're
yeah.
incredibly entertaining. And that's how he ended up on the cover of NHL, which is what it should be. I don't need the best player on the cover of NHL. I need the player that's going to translate and drive people that can be is marketable. And quite frankly, dating Dixie D'Amelio is extremely marketable if you're the NHL. You're talking about a woman who reaches an audience more than you could possibly imagine. Dixie D'Amelio has more followers on TikTok than people who watched the Stanley Cup final. Like,
Literally, yeah.
this is the level of reach that we're talking about. But I think with my concern is like in hockey, and this is a hockey culture problem, and it always has been, is you have to fit into this box. And what we're seeing is that a lot of the younger players, Trevor Zegras, Cole Caulfield, Jack Hughes, Connor Bedard, like a lot of them are kind of branching out and doing new things and showcasing personality. I think that's fantastic because one, it's marketable. Two, like it's easier for fans to connect with them. I wonder if there's something going on, be it like with his teammates or with management, where it's like, are they not happy that he's in the relationship that he's in? Is the relationship itself weighing on him? Because there's been a distinct change in his demeanor and how he conducts himself and just like his vibe. And that was like the one thing I really, really found endearing about Trevor Zegras was that he felt super fun, like almost like a puppy dog. And it feels like
Yeah.
he's just had that beaten out of him. And obviously we're not going to blame Dixie D'Amelio for that. We're not just going to blame the woman, but like I wonder if there's whatever is going on, is it related to his relationship? And is it the fact that it's not in the NHL culture box? Is it that his personality didn't fit the culture box? Like, I don't know what it is, but for him to just, he looks broken. And that's so
Yeah.
unfortunate. Like,
I don't know exactly what it would be. And like I think one thing I find interesting about their relationship is just that I don't know a lot about it. I know Dixie D'Amelio, like during COVID, a lot of people were discovering any of these people associated with her, and I know like Charlie D'Amelio was on Dancing with the Stars a couple years ago and stuff like that. Like they've gotten pretty connected to the main social kind of normal network. She won Dancing with the Stars actually, but one like Dixie D'Amelio had a very public relationship for two very public relationships during COVID. The first one had a very, very messy ending. The second one, not so much publicly, but I think a lot of people, when they live in the public eye and have had breakups in the public eye, they sort of draw back from that a little bit. So I think they definitely are probably trying to keep things a little bit more private on that sense. But I feel like, especially because of that, there's no way of knowing, there's no way of speculating if it has any impact on what's going on. I lean a little bit more on the side of I just don't know how good Trevor Zegras actually is. I think there's definitely something there, but he seems like the type that, like I said, I don't know how much of, like, he has a lot of skill, but in terms of, the other aspects of his game to lean on when the skill, you're shooting at a low percentage or, you're not able to get the space you need to do the things you're really good at. I don't know how versatile his skill set is to sort of lean on other aspects while you kind of wait for that spark to come back. So I think that probably has a big impact on it, but you never know for sure.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think he's a fantastically skilled hockey player. And I love the pizzazz. I love the charisma, like you pointed out, that we saw with the US program, we saw in juniors. I hope that whatever's going on, that we can get that back, because I think generally speaking, it's better for the league when players like Trevor Zegras feel comfortable showcasing their personality and don't look like broken, lost puppy dogs. Like, at the end of the day, regardless of like his talent or anything else, I just hope that he gets back to enjoying playing hockey, because right now it just feels like it looks like he doesn't, and I never ever like to see that. And so like I'm hoping that whatever pathways like that he has, like he uses them, because the NHL and specifically the Ducks, who are terrible, are a better team and a more watchable team when Trevor Zegras is out there with the charisma, doing the deeks and having fun. And so speaking of fun, we are going to give our little brief thoughts on the PWHL jersey releases. They dropped the logos and the release and the jerseys. People had thoughts. I was definitely one of them. Lyss, where do we want to start?
I mean, let's just kind of speed run it. There's only 6 that we have to go through, and I think, generally speaking, first and foremost, I think when it comes to opinions, don't get me wrong, I'll share my opinion. We'll get there. But I think objectively, these are professional hockey looking jerseys. Like, they, you can dislike logos,
Yeah.
you can dislike color schemes, whatever. Like, if you had shown any person who doesn't watch hockey a lineup of 4 or 5 NHL jerseys and 1 PWHL jersey, they wouldn't be able to tell you which one is, the brand new league, which I think, I give my flowers to the PWHL for that. I think they're gorgeous. Like, I think they look really, really nice. Now, if we start getting a little bit more into opinions, I'm curious, I'll throw it to you first. What's your favorite?
Montreal's is my favorite. I will actually make the assertion that I think Montreal's jerseys would be top 10 in the NHL. Like, they're that good. They are so nice. And don't get me wrong, absolutely not a Montreal fan. Like, that's not a thing. I will be getting that red jersey. It is absolutely beautiful. I think Montreal, from the branding to the jerseys to everything they do in the community, has absolutely knocked it out of the park. And this jersey ensemble combination, whatever, is 10 out of 10 with no notes for me. Like, I could not find a way to improve their jerseys.
Oh, yeah, they're so nice. They're so nice. And, like, I think my thing is, it's like, even I could say that I'm not a big cream jersey girl. Never really been my thing. If anyone knows me, they know that creams and powder blues are kind of a big no for me. But I think the incorporation of, it's that opinion aside, like, the logo was gorgeous. I love the name. I'm sorry, I'm a Quebecois purist. Like, I love leaning into the French for that space, especially knowing the core players they have in their inaugural season and going forward, and just how many French-speaking people there are in that community. I love it. I think it's a great name. I think it's a very fitting, a very sporty name, and I think the logo is gorgeous, and I completely agree with you. The jerseys are beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love them. I think they freaking nailed that. Okay, let's go a little bit down the street to Toronto. We'll just travel down the 401. First of all, it's giving Taylor Swift.
It is so giving Taylor Swift.
I don't hate, to be quite honest.
Oh, no. But I mean, the thing is with it is that it's not like it's overly innovative or anything like that. Like, it's the ultimate baseball logo of the 2 letters intersecting, whatever, adding the little scepter ball on the top just to make sure we don't get any copyright infringement on Miss Taylor over there. Really like that logo. I like a good letter logo. Not a big fan of word mark logos, but like letters, I'm on board. I like it.
Yeah, like I wasn't a fan of the name when it dropped. I really
Fair
wasn't.
enough.
I thought they could have gone with something else. But then, honestly, like, I think they did a good job of selecting the colors. Like, the logo is cool. Like you said, I kind of like what they did. They got creative. They made it pop a little bit. And, I mean, it's not the worst thing to be hanging with Taylor Swift right now. That girl is the most popular human being on the face of this planet. And so, honestly, like, I don't mind it at all. Like, I don't think that maybe I would have gone with like a different blue. But like at the end of the day,
that's where
I think they nailed it with the gold.
A little bit. Where I feel like you have the Rangers behind you. That royal blue is so overused in North American hockey.
Oh, true.
like regular red, like fire engine red and royal blue are so reviews. I like that it's a little bit different. Like again, yeah, could they have picked a different one? Like sure, for sure. But I'm glad that it's just not the classic royal blue. And I same thing goes for all the jerseys, that there are a couple more innovative colors in pretty much all of them, which I think is awesome and perfect to me.
Yeah, like I think I would have. I'm with you. I would not have gone royal blue. I also would not have gone Toronto Maple Leaf blue. I think those should have been out. I actually would have liked to have seen maybe like a, you don't like powder blue, but to me like a baby blue or a powder blue might have been kind of
Yeah.
cool. I'm interested to see how the full ensemble looks once they're actually playing. I feel like I might warm up to it, but I feel like a lot of people were really harsh on Toronto, and quite frankly, I feel like a lot of that is just because it's Toronto. But
Yeah.
I don't know, like I'm warming up to the name, and I think the reason I'm warming up to the name is like you pointed out, I really like the logo. I think the logo's super clean. I think it's versatile. It can go on various colors. Like the way that they've structured that logo, you can have a black hat, you can have a white hat, you can have the blue, you can do so many things. It's super versatile. So I think they nailed that. Minnesota, okay, going with purple, my favorite color. Thank you for using an underused color. We love that for us.
Yeah, no, I like the purple, and I think the different shades of purple on their jersey are really gorgeous. Like throwing some lavender in there, I think is so nice. I don't know if you can tell if you're watching on our video, you can see I have my hat wall in the background, and I legitimately, the most purple that I have on this wall is the brim of my Arizona Coyotes Kachina hat. Like there is not a lot of purple in North American professional sports, especially not in hockey. My one beef though is that there are only 6 teams in this league. Why is one of them the same color as the league? Like I understood, because at the end of the day, like once the league starts getting a little bit more up and running, more established and everything, people aren't going to be buying PWHL branded merch like the same way that you don't see people wearing NBA merch and you don't see people wearing league merch other than like Rob Lowe at the Super Bowl or whatever it was. But like I don't like that there's only 6 teams and one of them has the same color as the league. I don't know, but maybe that's just like a personal thing. I'm just kind of like ugh about it.
See, like I love the color ensemble that you laid out. I feel like they left a little bit to be desired on the logo. Like they're the frost. You're
Yeah.
telling me you couldn't have picked like an animal, a snow situation, anything that could have
The one
gone
thing I
like
will say
in a
though
different
is,
direction.
based on all of these though, is that they all still have the potential to have a secondary logo that becomes a primary logo, in the sense that they're all letter logos in some capacity. You could get a Yeti for the Minnesota Frost in a couple of years. You could get some sick looking king or queen for the Toronto Scepters in a couple. Like there are opportunities to kind of like get a new logo, since they're all a little bit more on the name side as opposed to the logo side, if that makes sense. So I feel like there's potential there, but I totally agree that it's like, especially right off the bat, spoiler alert, it's one of my favorite names. I think Minnesota Frost is an awesome name. I'm a big fan of singular team names. I think that's something that Mikey Stevens and I actually disagree on, because if I remember correctly, he's not a fan. I love them. I think they're awesome. So I love that name, and I love a lot of the names for that reason.
Yeah, like I like the purple. I mean, purple's my favorite color, so like obviously that was gonna slay for me. I'm with you. I like the frost. I think that was super cool. Okay, Boston, the Fleet. I love that they used green because green is a super underutilized color. I feel like they could have added a splash of other color in there though. But I like I saw a lot of people being like, I don't like the fleet. The Boston Harbor literally exists. It makes perfect sense to have a team named the Boston Fleet.
And in my opinion, they have the nicest logo. It's my favorite logo. I think it's so sharp. The anchor, the bee, the water. I love it. I think it's great. And I think also anything with like water, as you can see with the Seattle Kraken in particular, like you can knock your marketing materials out of the park when you have a water adjacent name for your branding. So again, my brain always goes to the branding there. I think there's so much potential with that name, and I think the logo is awesome. I agree that it's a little bit of like a darker color scheme, which I mean I think is probably a bit of a preference thing. I don't know how much I love it, but again, green is my favorite color, so I'm wearing the green today, and the green's my favorite color, so biased towards it. I love it, but I think it's my favorite kit kind of as a whole. I really like the Boston Fleet.
I like it. All right. Okay, let's go just kind of up the way a little bit. The New York Sirens. I am not a fan of this team name. I can it's growing on me. I did not like it when it dropped. I there's a very specific reason I didn't like it when it dropped. I didn't like the timing of it. I didn't none of that. Once I saw the jersey, I was like, okay, I can get on board with this. It can grow on me. And I do actually think the jersey's pretty slick.
Yeah, no, it's nice for sure. I personally am, and if you know me, it should come as no surprise that I really want them to lean into the mermaid side of the Sirens thing. Some people are like, oh, like, don't, like, people sometimes get weird about, like, using too feminine of words. You know, people were worried that they were going to be, like, the Toronto, like, queens or monarchs or whatever, something like that. People are like, oh, like, that's too girly, whatever sort of thing. Like, there's no such thing as too girly, in my opinion. And I think leaning into, like, sirens, like, mermaids would just be kind of a lame name because, like, who's scared of a mermaid? What's exciting and intimidating about a mermaid? Nothing. But, like, sirens is such a good name. Love the double use that you could possibly use with it. And I really hope they lean into, like, the aquatic creature side of it. I don't know if they will, but based on some of their early promo materials, I think there's some potential. I like the color scheme. I find it kind of weird that, you know, they have a similar kind of blue and yellow layout to Toronto. I know they're very different. It's a bit more of an orange. I get that, but, like, they're kind of similar in my opinion. But I don't have a ton of beef with New York's situation.
Yeah, I like that the main color they seem to use is very similar to the Statue of Liberty. I think that that's a very good callback to New York. And so I feel like I like that. Very similar to the New York Liberty, who are the WNBA team there. I like that. If they lean into the sea creature situation, I am on board with it. If they don't, then I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? So I feel like it's one of those things where it's like you kind of have to wait and see. We need to talk about Ottawa, though, because that logo looks like the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Calgary Flames had a baby, and I do not like it.
Everyone is really hard on that logo, and, like, I completely agree. It's my least favorite of the six. But, like, I don't know. Like, there are a lot of other logos that I'm not a huge fan of, and I think at the end of the day, when it comes to a logo, to me, I've said this a billion times before, and I'll say it a million times again, the best logos in sports are the ones that a 6-year-old can draw from memory. Draw it well? No, not so much, but, you know, the Boston Bruins be classic, iconic, you can draw that. Winnipeg Jets, you can draw that, you know? I think you should be able to draw a good logo from memory. Some of these logos get a little bit too complicated for me, and this Ottawa Charge logo fits that bill for me. It will become very recognizable in that sense. So I'm not as much of a hater on it as everyone else, but maybe it's simply because I am, you know, an empath, and I was like, oh, I feel so bad for whoever designed it because everyone is being so mean to them. But, you know, I wouldn't, you know, buy merch of it because I like the logo, which I would do for some other sports teams, so I'm not going to go that far, but I think it gets a little bit too much hate. I'm not saying it doesn't deserve any hate, but I feel like it gets a bit too much hate.
Yeah, like I saw people saying like, oh, it looks like ChatGPT designed it. I'm like, okay, it's not that bad. It just feels like they took two logos and maybe mashed them together in an idea brainstorming session. And I think this is kind of one of those things where it clearly, like, there's room for improvement there, and there's room for improvement all the time. Like, the Toronto Maple Leafs had this logo for the longest time, and it was one of the ugliest logos, like, in the entirety of the NHL. I don't know who approved that and who allowed it. It was unacceptable, and thank God they changed it for their 100th anniversary, because my goodness, it was awful. And so there's always going to be room for improvement, and I think that this is going to be like one of those cases. There's always going to be new iterations. It's not so terrible that they have to like repeal the logo. Like, people saying that, I'm like, okay, dude, just dial it back, settle down. But I think part of the reason why it gave me the Cavaliers Flames vibes is because it's also similar to the Flames colors.
Right. Well, there's definitely that part of it. I think, though, the thing is that, like, I like that it's got a bit of an O and a bit of a C, that you can sort of see both of that in it. My two main issues with it are, one, I don't see how it embodies anything to do with the Charge. That's what I love so much about the Fleet. Having the anchor and the water in there is like, okay, clearly, yes, it's a B for Boston, but it incorporates the Fleet. But the second thing is, it's if you're familiar with the logo, it's the little spokes coming out of the side. I feel like that's where the logo could have changed. Because if you take those out on its own, the concept makes sense to me. But those spokes, I feel like they're a little bit too sharp. They're a little bit too rounded. They're a little bit too short. Like there's something off about the spokes coming out of the left side of the logo to me.
Yeah, I also feel like there was like a an opportunity to like include like a lightning bolt of some sort, or something charge related. I feel like there was just, I don't know, I feel like it was like a bit of a missed opportunity, and
Yeah.
like maybe that logo becomes like their shoulder patch logo when they get a primary one, like we were discussing earlier. But that's definitely like my least favorite of the bunch.
Could be. Yeah.
But the reality is I think on the whole, like they're pretty good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, it's one of those things that it's like, I almost put it into the category of like watching your favorite football team special teams, right? You sit on your couch, and I'm not trying to pull a Tua here where he gets into this sort of thing sometimes, but he's like, yeah, you sitting on your couch watching, like, you think you could do better sort of thing. I get very defensive about graphic design and marketing and stuff like that. People always think they can do better. There will always be things that people don't like about them. And so, no, I don't think that we shouldn't criticize when we feel like criticism is earned, but at the same time, it's like, I dare you to come up with even a better concept. And yes, there were better concepts that existed. I saw some amazing graphic designers and artists who put together their own versions based on the names, their own different names and stuff like that. Always room for improvement and stuff like that. But I just feel like people will always dunk on design choice. Always, always, always. It is one of the sure things in life. So I feel like it's one of those things that you kind of just have to take a step back and think about for a second. And it's like, let's be so for real, because like what the way you're describing it makes it sound like, yeah, like a 6-year-old designed it, and I promise you, like, there was a lot of thought, a lot of opinions that went into it. Maybe they didn't consult you specifically and didn't incorporate your specific opinion, but I promise you this was not one graphic designer that they contracted to design these have gone through so many rounds of approvals. They have gone, so many eyes have seen them and approved them, and maybe you don't agree, but I think at the end of the day, like, objectively, they are all fine, which is all you need, because yeah, opinions will come and go.
Exactly. Yeah, and like I mean, you're never gonna knock everything out of the park like right off the hop, and the PWHL has done such a good job with like 99% of things that it's like, okay, like there's always gonna be room to grow. And I think that that's kind of the crux of that. Like, I can't wait. I will be getting a Montreal jersey. There is no doubt about it. I'm so excited. And I'm gonna get a Scepters jersey just because that's the team that, I mean, I'm gonna go watch games. Like, I'm super excited. I live quite close to where they play. And so I can't wait, really. All right, let's get into my favorite part of every episode. And usually it's because Mike surprises me with something, but this time we're actually going to help everyone out. So, welcome to Lifeline, where we give you advice, whether it's don't charge cover to enter your wedding, don't call your girlfriend Tony Pizza, and like, just stop that behavior. It's not allowed. It's not permitted. This week, we're going to talk about presents to get for Christmas for your sports-loving girlfriend, because Lyss and I are sports-loving girly pops, and you know what? Do not get me like a Sephora gift card. Don't do it. Like, there's no thought that goes into that. The gift cards annoy me because it's like there's no thought that goes into that. Do not get your girlfriend a gift card. Lyss, do we agree on this?
Oh my god, yeah. Gift cards are for aunts and uncles who are doing their best to stay connected to their teenage children their teenage nieces and nephews, and they're being super generous with the gift. The 6 closest people in your life should not be receiving a gift card from you.
Exactly. Like, that's not a thing. Okay, so sports-loving girlfriends, of which I am one. You are a sports-loving girly pop as well. What are good Christmas presents, Hanukkah presents, holiday gifts, birthday gifts for you, the woman in your life who is a sports girly?
Okay, I will start it off with girls accessorize. We are always looking for, like, you layer different parts of your outfit, you match the colors and all these sorts of things. So I am pro something small and minimal with the sport. Okay, people can get jerseys and that's fine, and trust your gut if you think, your girlfriend really wants a jersey of a specific player, good for her. Go Piss Girl, whatever she wants. But something that I really like getting as a gift is something that's with my sports team's logo on it that's a little bit more minimal. It's something I can layer, something I can use to accessorize. So, and a good example, I have this wall behind me of all these different hats. I turn all of these bad boys into outfits. You can find all these different ways to incorporate it, and it's not necessarily shoving it in your face. Because sometimes you want to wear something to support a team, but you're not always feeling like wearing a massive kind of logo on your chest or something like that. So something that I really like, team merch and stuff like that, going to the more associated team merch places, so something like Line Change or Peace Collective or some Etsy shops and stuff like that, that's what I feel like most girls are a little bit more into, something that they would wear kind of outside of just the sports setting. I feel like is a really good indicator. It's not just something that she would wear to a game, it's something she would wear in day-to-day life. So really simple shirts, simple hats. I'm a big fan of the hats. Sweatpants I find are really, really good as well. Something that just is a little bit more settled, not so in your face with the team logo on it, I think is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, all of that, literally fantastic. Peace Collective is one of my absolute favorite brands, not only because the products are insanely high quality. Like, the first ever Peace Collective sweater I bought said Home is Toronto on it. It is 10 years old next year. And that thing looks brand new. Like, the quality of the actual product at Peace Collective is incredible. The other thing I love about Peace Collective is every purchase you make gives back to a different, they give 10% to a different charity. So they just dropped a Mean Girls collection for Black Friday, and 10% is going to breast cancer. They do a men's mental health one. They do Toronto, like, if you buy like Home is Toronto stuff right now, it goes to sheltering the homeless. Like, there's so many things that Peace Collective as a brand does in terms of giving back. So like, you can buy sports stuff on there if she wants something sports. Like, 10 out of 10 recommend that. They like football, like all that stuff. Finding like a solid brand, I'm so there with you.
And the most important part of it too is, like, I think the big thing for me is always the logos. So nice, they have a bit more of a vintage feel to them a lot of the time, where it's, again, not just like the logo screen printed onto the chest or anything like that, but it's also the fit of the clothing. Like, I'm sorry, I will scream this 1,000 times, I can't style a Gildan t-shirt. Like, that is for pajamas. No. And that's what you go to like the team gear stores and stuff like that, and you get these big t-shirts. Like, your girlfriend can't really do anything with that. Maybe she can, but she doesn't want to. So, like, the nice little crop tops or, like, the quarter zips, like, that's where we have a little bit more to work with here. Even, and maybe this is a bit of a hot take, you would have to know your girlfriend. It's the same thing as, I'm not going to tell you if you should buy her gold or silver jewelry. You should know that already. But I don't mind every now and then getting a women's fit t-shirt. I know a lot of people don't like women's fit t-shirts. Like, and again, I wouldn't wear it to bed. I wouldn't wear it to anything. But when you want to, like, layer with a jacket or some leather pants or something like that as, like, an under thing, and they fit a little bit nicer with your curves and all that sort of stuff, women's t-shirts, sometimes if you get a nice fit, snug fitting style, they're a little bit underrated in my opinion.
You know what? I'm right there with you. I love that. Like, I cannot wear the baggy stuff. First of all, like, it makes me look like a teenage boy, so we're not going to be doing that. Yeah. I don't feel like getting bullied on a daily basis. So I love the women's cut stuff, or even if it's just like size down. Like, if she's a women's medium, do not buy her a men's medium shirt. Like, don't do that. No. One of the things I think is really cool is an experience. So, like, what I find with, like, a lot of my friends who are interested in sports is that they're also experience driven. Like, not a lot of us aren't like the material girly pops, in the sense of, like, do not buy us
it's
something.
It's a massive generational shift, 100%.
Yeah, like, don't buy me anything from Hermes for Christmas. Like, just don't do it. But it's like one of those things where I feel like an experience is super fun. So it's like, I want to go to a hockey game. Like, let's do that. Or let's go to a Raptors game, a basketball game, a soccer game, or whatever. Like, let's do something together. The other thing that I love from an experience perspective is, like, activity-based stuff. So it's like, let's go to this place that's like, there's this place in Toronto called Pursuit OCR, and it's basically an adult play place. So there's, like, ball pits and, like, like you hit each other with balloons and like you get to drink while you do it. Like it's basically an adult obstacle course. I love stuff like that because odds are if I'm super into sports, I'm also
You're
probably a
competitive.
sporty girl and I'm competitive, which like again, super fun. It's an activity. It gets you to like do something together. And I think that that's a super cool way to not only like give your girlfriend something that she's going to enjoy, but it's also a way for you to connect, especially if you're in the beginning stages of your relationship. Doing something where you can like learn about each other and connect is a super fun way to like not only have fun doing the activity, but also to get to know your significant other. And I feel like that could be really important in a relationship. Like, can you go to an escape room and can you work together? Right? Instead of putting IKEA furniture together, can you do an escape room together? Can you work together?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a fun little thing that isn't like a materialistic type situation.
Yeah, and it's a little bit more, it's a bit of a lower commitment too, right? I think that's the one thing that's hard about, especially early stages of relationships. We've all been there when you get into a relationship a little bit too close to Christmas time and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? And it's not, so something like that, again, where it's like,
It
it's not
me,
gonna feel
I
like
am
too
that
much.
girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's not fun. We're not having a good time over here. Let's be real with that. But something like even whether it's a hockey game, I understand that the affordability and even the fun and experience of going to a hockey game or a sports game in general is a bit different depending on where you are. Some places are not that fun to go to. It's too much of a pain. It's too much of a headache.
Toronto,
and the
not
atmosphere
fun.
Isn't that fun? No, exactly. And frankly, it's not that fun. And also, you have to spend $600 to just not have fun either, So it's like there are different areas, but
Yeah.
finding different places to go and stuff like that. There are a lot of creative kind of options out there, and getting to know your person through those experiences is really massive. I think we live in a bit of a generation where, at the end of the day, my little diamond earrings, I know that they were $11 from Amazon. Nobody else will know that they're not Tiffany earrings, and I'm okay with that. And I think that's kind of a shift that we have just in our generation, where 100% spending habits and people's where they derive pleasure from has had a massive shift with millennials and Gen Z, where experience is everything. So I think, leaning into that, especially if that's, related to your person, I think is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, women, we just want you to put effort in. That's really
Yeah.
what we're looking for here. Are you paying attention to the things that we like? Like, bare minimum level situation. So, like, honestly, fantastic example. I like handwritten notes. Like, I think they're really cute. If my boyfriend got me whatever XYZ for Christmas, but he wrote me a really nice card, that would probably be the thing that I loved the most, because that's something I would keep. It's something that would be meaningful. And I think at the end of the day, it's the thought and the effort that counts. And if you're dating somebody that only cares about materialistic things, then this conversation was definitely not for you, and maybe some evaluation needs to be done, because at the end of the day, I think it's not about that. It's about the thought. It's about, were they paying attention? Are you paying attention to their interests and what they like? Because you should be doing the same thing. And that is our advice. We're handing you a lifeline to help with your holiday shopping this year. And with that, we will end our special edition of Puck Social. Lyss, this has been so much fun. I had a blast. Weddings, relationships, babies, vibes, jerseys, styles, advice that clearly people need. Girl, you're going to have to come back. We're going to have to do this regularly. We need to have more fun.
Oh, I'll be here. I'll be here.
I can't wait. And for everyone that is listening, thank you so much. Next week, we will be back with our Christmas list. Yes, we are bringing back our Christmas wish list, followed by the nice list and the naughty list. So Mike and I will be back, and we will have our special Christmas edition episodes coming up. I absolutely can't wait. I mean, last year we dressed up, which was a wild idea. Should I dress up as the Grinch this year? We'll see. But either way,
But
we
Rachel,
will
you
see
hate
you.
the Grinch.
No, absolutely. I hate the Grinch. That's certainly why I don't have a Grinch Christmas tree or figurine or outfit or yeah, anything. There's no Grinch liking here. Certainly not I. And with that, I'm going back into my Grinch cave and we'll chat with y'all next week.